Breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, 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 breathe in, breathe out.
Good morning. Welcome to United First Parish Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, welcome to our Unitarian Universalist spiritual community. We are delighted to welcome anyone who may be visiting us. You can learn more about our community by going to our website, www.ufpc.org. I'm the Reverend Rebecca Froom. Our worship leaders this morning on screen and behind screen are Joan McDonald, our Director of Religious Education, and Christopher Taylor. Most of our music today is performed and recorded by Leah, a singer-songwriter out of the Washington, D.C. area, whose music has been performed in worship services in many traditions. The order of service for this morning can be downloaded from our UFPC website, and I believe that Joan has pasted the link to our order of service there in the chat. We'll be pasting hymn lyrics in the chat as we go as well. For our online services, we invite you to go ahead and leave your video on so that we might see one another when folks choose to be in gallery view, even though we are physically apart. Note that we are recording this morning's service to be posted on YouTube at a later date. If you would prefer not to be seen in the recording, please turn your video off. And if at any point this morning you have a poor connection, you can try turning your video off and see if that improves things. We invite everyone to stay online after the service for our virtual social hour. This morning, we will have breakout groups to reflect on the theme of today's service. And now let us center ourselves for worship by taking a deep breath together, relaxing into the gift of this day and the opportunity to be together. Our call to worship is by John Saxon. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It calls us in the silence and through the noise and the busyness of our daily lives. It calls us in the brightness of the day and the darkness of the night, in times of hope and despair. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It does not matter what you call it, if it has no name and has many different names. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of compassion, the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of justice. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling to you and me, calling us to greater wholeness, greater connection, greater service, greater love. It is calling us to heal the brokenness within ourselves, in others, and in the world. It is calling us to live more deeply. It is calling us to beauty. It is calling us to laugh and dance and sing, calling us to live through life's pain and sorrow, to live courageously and kindly, to speak our truth in love, to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. It is calling us into this community, into the greater life of all. Come, let us worship. Now I invite folks to turn on gallery view for our chalice lighting. And if you have a chalice or a candle at home, to go and bring that to your screen for our chalice lighting. I have two. Our chalice lighting words this morning are by Marjorie Montgomery. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. And now let us join in speaking the words of our congregation's covenants. The words will appear on your screen. As a free fellowship of this historic church, we unite to lift our hearts and open our minds to a larger reality, to accept, support, and encourage one another, to seek the wisdom in all religions, to cherish and sustain the web of life, and to strive for justice, compassion, and peace. Our first song this morning is titled Listening, perfect for our monthly theme of deep listening, performed by the artist Leah. The words will be pasted into the chat.
I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My ears are wide open. My eyes are now open to see what I may be. I'm listening. I'm Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. In this moment of Spirit, speaks through me. I can hear the voices of all my kin. I'm listening, singing. I'm listening, the sweet spirit howling into the wind. My ears are wide open, and oh, the joy. My eyes are wide open, oh, the love to see, to hear for you and me. Oh, I'm listening in this moment of silence. I am listening. I hear Spirit speak through me.
This morning, we're going to practice a body scan meditation. This one was created for children, and I adapted it from the book titled Mindful Parenting for ADHD by Mark Burton. And it's a great way to introduce how a body scan works. Although this is a shorter scan, a typical body scan can go from 10 minutes to an hour. This type of meditation helps us to tune into our bodies, to reconnect our physical selves, and to notice any sensations that you're feeling without judgment. So typically you might lay down on the floor to do this, but obviously we're sitting in our seats. So if you sit, maybe sitting up a little bit straighter, just trying to relax your body, let your legs and arms naturally fall down, whether they are on the floor and your hands might be in your lap. And just be comfortable and close your eyes. Start by taking 2 or 3 gentle, deep breaths. Pay attention to how that feels. Your belly rises and falls. Air moves in and out of your body. If you like, place a hand on your belly and feel it move with each breath. Now we're going to pay attention to other parts of our body. Start with your feet. They might feel warm or cold, wet or dry, relaxed or restless. It's okay if you don't feel anything at all. If you can, relax your feet. Take a moment and notice how that feels. Let yourself be still. There's nothing to do. When your mind gets busy, gently bring attention back to your feet. Now move your attention to your lower legs, noticing whatever is there. Do they feel heavy or light, warm or cold, or something else? Let go of frustration and trying to do anything. Give yourself a few moments of rest. Next, move your attention to your knees and relax them. Feel the front, the back, and sides of your knees. After a few more breaths, move your attention to your upper legs. Whatever you feel or don't feel is fine. Notice your legs and let them relax. If you feel restless or wiggly, that's okay too. It happens. Now move your attention to your belly. It always moves when you breathe, rising and falling like waves on the ocean. You might feel something on the inside like full or hungry. You might notice your clothes touching your body. You might even feel emotions in your belly, like happy or sad or upset. Next, bring your attention to your chest. Notice it's rising and falling as you breathe. If you feel that it's hard to focus, that's normal. Gently practice coming back again and again to how your chest feels as you're breathing. Now turn your attention to your hands. There's no need to move them or do anything with them. They may be touching the floor. They might be relaxed on your lap. If not, simply pay attention to your hands for another moment. Now move your attention up into your arms. Notice if you can find a moment of stillness inside you, like the pause at the end of each breath. Move your attention around to your back. How does it feel against the chair or the floor? Notice how it rocks with each breath you take. When your mind gets busy or angry or scared, you can always come back to how your body feels in this way at this moment. Moving your attention to your neck and shoulders, let go and relax them. If your mind wanders, that's fine. No one can pay attention all the time. Just keep returning to noticing your body whenever you find yourself thinking about something else. Now feel your face and your head. What expressions do you think you have on your face right now? What would it feel like if you smiled? What else do you notice in your face, in your head, and your mind? Gently breathe in and out, and spend a few moments paying attention to your whole body. And as your breath is moving in and out, you can open your eyes and sit for a few moments before deciding when to move again.
Let us all open our eyes as we also open our hearts for the sharing of our joys and sorrows. This is a time where we are present with one another and our own hearts as we briefly share a life milestone that lifts our spirits in joy or hope, or a pain and loss that fills you with heartache. As we enter this time of sharing, I will light a candle of joy, knowing that a joy shared is a joy magnified, and also a candle of sorrow, knowing that a sorrow shared is a sorrow diminished. Begin by, as we end our sharing, we light a final candle, representing all of those joys and all of those sorrows that we hold silently in the sanctuary of our hearts. Let us return to that deep breath of life and love that moves within, between, and beyond us all. Let us again pay attention to our bodies as Joan guided us in that body scan meditation. Let us return to the gift of our bodies, the gift of this day, as we enter a time of shared silence. Will you lift your hearts and join me in the spirit of prayer, listening in these words for the language of faith most meaningful to you? Eternal presence, known by many names, known in many ways. We gather at a time of transition and change, marked by the beauty of autumn, marked by anxiety for the future, in times where wildfires continue to burn throughout our country. It can seem as if the whole world is on fire. There is so much fear around us, so much isolation that wears upon us, the fatigue of separation. Sometimes it can seem like we are bearing our burdens alone. Yet this season brings us hope as well as fear. This is a time in which it is important to continue to turn to one another with hearts and hands, with phone calls and postcards, with drive-by birthday parties, with smiles that come to our eyes as we pass a neighbor or stranger on the street. In this season of change, of fear, of hope, let us give thanks to be in a society that votes for our leaders, however, ever imperfectly. Let us remember that hope can follow action. And together, vote by vote, step by step, heart to heart, work for that world that we dream of, that world that together we have the responsibility and the freedom to build. This we pray for love's sake. Amen. And blessed be. Will you join me as we sing Spirit of Life? The words are on the screen and will also be pasted into the chat.
Spirit of light, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Flow with the wind, rise in the seas. Move in my hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of light, come to me, come to me.
I had tried so hard to find the right words. 3 years ago, our music director, Norman Corey, and I were collaborating on researching more composers that were people of color in the classical music genre, to diversify the music in our space, to honor the many different people and communities that create classical music. Norman turned to his musician colleagues to ask for resources, and I turned to my ministerial colleagues, posting, of course, in a Facebook group where ministers come together to share ideas and resources, to ask and answer questions. I had so hard tried to find the right words, asking about recommendations for people of color who are composers of classical music in a way that respected the diversity of classical music, while also recognizing that many composers are white. I got some really wonderful resources, as did Norman, and we brought the music of Florence Price, William Grant Still, and others into our sanctuary. But I also got some feedback from a colleague who's a person of color. They had heard my words as a microaggression. They heard in my words an assumption that classical music was only by white folks. This was the exact opposite of my intention. Nonetheless, the impact was harm. So I went back and I looked again at those few sentences, and I saw in the structure of my sentence, yes, a microaggression, the wording that assumed in ways I had not quite seen that composers of classical music were white. I was feeling defensive about this. I was trying to diversify composers. I was trying to find the right words, and here I had still floundered. But I took a deep breath and I wrote back and said, I see it now. Thank you. And then my colleague wrote again, correcting what I had said, saying, I see what you saw. I'm sorry. Thank you. I felt beyond defensive, exasperated, but I took a deep breath, seeing again the space between intention and impact, and I wrote back, I see the microaggression. I'm sorry. Thank you. To which my colleague replied, thank you. Defensiveness is part of being human. Can come up in all sorts of different conversations and relationships, times in which we feel that we are trying our best and our best is not enough. Defensiveness can be the end of a conversation. It can cause us to shut down from our own experience, no longer connecting with our body, as Joan just reminded us to do, no longer connecting with our conversation partner, getting frustrated, maybe leaving the conversation entirely. But defensiveness can also open a space for greater listening in our personal lives and in our efforts to work for societal transformation. The 20th century theologian Paul Tillich wrote about the relationship of justice and love in personal encounters. He writes how justice and love can adequately be described through three functions of creative justice, namely listening, giving, forgiving. In none of them does love do more than justice demands, but in each of them, love recognizes what justice demands. In order to know what is just in a person-to-person encounter, love listens. Its first task is to listen. He continues, no human relation, especially no intimate one, is possible without mutual listening. Reproaches, reactions, defenses may be justified in terms of proportional justice, but perhaps they would prove to be unjust if there were a more mutual listening. All things and all humans, so to speak, call on us with small or loud voices. They want us to listen. They want us to understand their intrinsic claims, their justice of being. They want justice from us, but we can give it to them only through the love which listens. The love that listens. This is the doorway that defensiveness can actually open to us. When we notice our defensiveness, be it in our inner monologue, I tried so hard, that's not what I meant, or in the clenching of our body, noticing that defensiveness is a time where a voice can call to us to take a deep breath, step back, look to see where hurt was caused, and look to see where love is present. When my colleague reached out to me, she wasn't doing it just to be mean. She was doing it because ministers have a shared covenant to speak our truth in love, to listen with love, to join our hearts and minds in the work of anti-oppression and anti-racism. Her words, critical though they were really grounded in this shared love, trusted that the relationship we had, even though we barely knew each other, that mutual relationship, that commitment to ministry, that covenantal commitment to act in love for justice, that mutual relationship could hold us as we give and receive feedback, as we look at both intention and impact and the space in between. We can respond defensively when it comes to challenges to our privilege, to the ways in which we are called out for our impact as well as our intent at a social level. And we can respond defensively in our interpersonal relationships to those we most know and love. How many times have you been on your way out the door or getting ready for bed and a member of your household says something and you're like, oof, that is not what I need to hear right now, or how could you think that about me? That wasn't my intent. I see people pointing at each other here in gallery view. But those relationships with our loved ones are grounded in mutual love. And both the feeling of defensiveness and the words that inspire that defensiveness are probably said by people who love each other. So it is important for us to create intentional spaces to listen to how defensiveness is calling us to listen to one another, a hard thing to do on your way out the door. So in our personal, interpersonal relationships, I challenge and call us to carve out intentional space. First with ourselves, to examine, where did that defensive feeling come from that I just said? Or where did that defensive response come from when my loved one challenged me as we're getting ready for dinner? Love calls us to listen. So creating a space in our own hearts to listen to our own hurts and the hurts of others helps us think about how to move forward. Carving out space in a family or a friendship or a church small group or committee meeting to listen to one another intentionally helps our defensiveness ease so we can look and listen at the needs beyond those reactions. So carving out intentional space to work through defensiveness in our personal relationships, that's hard. And a different kind of hard, still a great challenge, is carving out intentional space to work through and beyond our defensiveness at a societal level. I think we see this so much around us in people's commitment to anti-racism and anti-oppression. Good-hearted people that are trying to learn, that are trying to build bridges, that are trying to heal, that are acting with the best of intentions, that nevertheless, in the words spoken or unspoken, in the actions taken or not taken, hurt may be caused. And people respond defensively, as I did with my colleague. We see this in our societies and our own hearts when people are challenging us to look at real hurt. And how many times have we said as an individual, but I'm not racist. My family's not racist. My church isn't racist. My city's police force is not racist. And someone else in the room says defensively, but have you really looked around? Is there space to listen for the hurt people might have? And this defensiveness across different sides of these conversations, we can let it stop us as people of privilege, especially, we can walk away from those conversations. But instead, I invite us to use defensiveness as our heart's invitation to change. I've strived to do this for the last decade or two in my own anti-racism work, noticing that defensiveness can be a really wonderful indicator of a microaggression that I might have said or done or witnessed. And when I feel in myself, but I'm a good person, I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister, I've taken hours and hours and hours of anti-racism trainings, and nonetheless the hurt has been caused. But when I take a deep breath and listen to defensiveness as my teacher, I'm able to see more broadly, see more deeply the hurt I have caused or witnessed. And then I can turn to my fellow white people, or in other cases, my fellow people who come from professional class backgrounds, or my fellow American citizens, and say, I meant to do this thing, but it was received this way, and I feel really bad about it. Help me work that through. That's another intentional space we can create so that as people of privilege, we're growing through our defensiveness without requiring that people of color be our constant teacher. Friends on the journey, Tillich reminds us that the first duty of love is to listen. That relationships of mutual love call us to listen. That listening is one of the ways to act for creative justice. May we all, in our own way, work to have defensiveness open a door to listening to our own bodies, the ways in which we have been hurt, the ways in which we have hurt others. May we listen deeply to one another, hearing each other's stories as well as each other's positions. And as the first duty of love, may we listen beyond our defensiveness to see the injustices embedded in our society, so that with open ears, open hearts, open eyes, we might go boldly through these feelings of defensiveness or shame and find a greater love. May it be so, and blessed be.
No. Don't mute me.
Your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You've got to keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open. Though the waves want to push you around. Though the waves want to push me around. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open until my faith brings me back to solid ground. Until my faith brings me back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open. Though the waves want to push around. Though the waves want to push me around. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till my faith brings me back to solid ground. Till my faith brings me back to solid ground.
We drink from wells we did not dig. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant, and we use hardware and software we did not build. We are the recipients of all that we have received because of those who've come before us. We are called to share our abundance with those who will come after us. As a voluntary association, our church is sustained through the gifts of members and friends of this congregation. Your generosity makes it possible for us to do all the good works of the UFPC. Your generosity allows us to be caretakers of our historic building, as it will continue to be a place of sanctuary and learning when it is once again safe to gather in person. Your generosity helps us strive for justice, love, compassion, and peace, whilst living our congregation's values in the wider world. Please take this moment to visit our website and consider clicking on the donate button located on the homepage of our website, ufpc.org. Let us open our hearts as these gifts to support the good works of United First Parish Church are joyfully given and gratefully received.
Here at United First Parish Church, we are gathering in many ways on Zoom and occasionally on our church property as well. We have several ongoing programs. Our Director of Religious Education, Joan McDonald, has been preparing wonderful children's chapel services every week. She sends them to families on Thursdays. They're available on the religious education page of our UFPC website, and we will put a link to that in the chat. So parents or grandparents who have young ones, please check those out. Another ongoing program is our Black Lives Matter standouts that we are having every Thursday afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30 in partnership with Quincy for Transformative Change. Our very own Claire Fitzmaurice is our UFPC liaison to those events. Those are all ages. We have seniors, every age of adults. I've been bringing 3-year-old Micah. He has an adorable homemade sign. So this is an ongoing opportunity for us to bring a moral witness right into the heart of Quincy, to remind everyone that the movement for Black lives continues, and for us to think about how to respond courageously and faithfully. Upcoming this Saturday afternoon, October 24th, Joan and I will be holding an apple festival in person on the south lawn of the church. That's the not Parish Hall door side on Temple Street. And folks are invited to bring a favorite apple dish or apple beverage or actual apples, and we will dine together in a COVID safe manner. Please bring your own picnic blanket or chair if you can. If not, I can bring out chairs for you. And please do let me know if you're coming at rev.rebecca.froom@gmail.com or on my cell phone. And that way I can make sure that our group stays small enough, and there is plenty of space at this time. A few of us gathered this past Tuesday for our online Apple Festival and had some really good and heartwarming conversations. So come in person to continue that kind of connection. And 2 weeks from now, on November 1st, we will be having our annual remembrance service. In the past, we've invited people to bring pictures into our remembrance altar in the sanctuary. This year, as we innovate new ways of being together, we invite you to email a picture of a loved one who has died. You can send those to Joan or me, and we'll have a remembrance slideshow as part of our service. So pictures of family, of friends, of heroes and leaders that you've looked up to. We'll send an email out about that so you can reply easily. Next Sunday, the Reverend Dr. Michelle Walsh, our community minister, will be leading the service. But now let us return to that breath of life, that breath that is always there to ground and guide us. Our words of benediction are by Barbara Hamilton Hallway. Go now in peace. Deeply regard each other. Truly listen to each other. Speak what each may speak. Be ready in every moment to disarm your own heart. Rejoice in this love you have already begun. May we go in peace and go in love to be a blessing to the world. And now let us sing together as we extinguish our chalices. We invite you to stay online for our virtual coffee hour. We'll have 2 breakout groups to discuss the prompts. When have you worked through defensiveness to create a space for deeper listening? What helps you listen deeply to the experience of others? Our main room will also be open for more casual conversation.